Hey guys, today I have a book haul to share with you. So let's get going with this book haul. I have 20 books to share with you guys, and I am behind. Let me be real. I have a ton of books that I have to haul, and yeah, I mean, when I do these videos, I can only kind of do so many at a time because they're all just down here at my feet with nowhere to go. And yeah, it's like I could be like some booktubers and be like, yeah, I'm going to show you guys 100 freaking books because I have 100 books that I could share with you guys. But yeah, I need to trim it down or else this video will be way too long, and I don't think you guys want to sit here forever with me going through over 100 books. So yeah, I'm gonna have to just knock these out every month as best I can, you guys, just to make it short and to the point. So yeah, I have 20 books to share with you guys. So yeah, some of these, I'm kind of looking down at them. Some of them I have read, or I have them on like a recent TBR or whatever. So yeah, we'll just get going here. First up, I have book 3 in this particular trilogy, and this is The Dark Days Deceit by Alison Goodman. I'm not really quite sure what this trilogy is even called, because the first book is called The Dark Days Pact, but I'm not sure what the trilogy as a whole is called. I believe this is the third and final book in this trilogy by Alison Goodman. So yeah, I can finally start binging this trilogy whenever I feel like it. I have previously read Alison Goodman's Iana series. It was a duology, and I loved that duology, so I've been very curious to read another series by her and see if I love it just as much as Iona and whatnot. And yeah, these take place, I believe, in like Victorian London and follow like a young woman, and I think there's like some magical supernatural stuff going on. I'm not quite sure of all the details, but when I was reading the synopsis of especially the first book, I was like, ooh, this sounds really good. So yeah, I finally have all 3 books in the series. Can't wait to binge my way through this trilogy. Hummingbird Salamander, just a great title alone right there, you guys, by Jeff Vandermeer. And I actually won this book through a Goodreads giveaway, so thank you very much, Goodreads. Yeah, I primarily signed up for this book because I was like, ooh, cute little hummingbird, and then just the title alone, Hummingbird Salamander. I was like, that just sounds all sorts of interesting. So yeah, what is it actually about, you guys? It says, security consultant Jane Smith receives an envelope with a key to a storage unit that holds a taxidermied hummingbird and clues leading to a taxidermied salamander. Sylvania, the dead woman who left the note, was a reputed eco-terrorist and the daughter of an Argentine industrialist. By taking the hummingbird from the storage unit, Jane sets in motion a series of events that quickly spin beyond her control. Soon, Jane and her family are in danger, with few allies to help her make sense of the true scope of the peril. Is the only way to safety to follow in Sylvina's footsteps? Is it too late to stop? As Jane desperately seeks answers about why Sylvina contacted her, time is running out for her and possibly for the world. Ooh, so yes, has something to do with endangered species, possibly a hummingbird and a salamander, some world-ending post-apocalyptic event of some sort. I don't know, but that sounds kind of cool. Next up, I have The Charmed Wife by Olga Grushin. This is a book that I read earlier in the year, and this is essentially like what happens after a happily ever after. In this book, Cinderella and her Prince Charming have been married for quite a number of years at this point, but their marriage is slowly decaying, it's falling apart, and Cinderella, she's had enough. But why exactly? Why is she so angry with Prince Charming? What in her life has gone bad, you know, because she's supposed to have this happily ever after. So yeah, she goes out into the woods to meet with a witch, and she wants to like make a spell that will kill her Prince Charming. Oh wow. So I really liked this book. It's not going to be for everybody because there's definitely some oddities to it and some really wild and crazy twists and turns to it. It's not going to be for everybody, but I personally really enjoyed this book, and I liked that it wasn't necessarily like a Cinderella retelling. You know, it's not retelling anything with Cinderella. It's after the fact. You know, it's after the happily ever after and what their marriage has been like. So I actually really liked that and appreciated what Olga Grushin did with that. The Hat Makers by Tamsin Merchant, and this is book 1 and I guess a new trilogy. I got this book for the name of Tamsin Merchant. Yeah, guys. I didn't know she was writing books. If you don't know who Tamsin Merchant is, she is a British actress. If I'm trying to think. You've either seen her in things or you haven't. It just depends on what you watch. Most notably, she was in like the final season. I guess it was the final season of The Tudors that had Jonathan Rhys Meyers playing King Henry VIII. Tamsin Merchant played Henry VIII's fifth wife, Catherine Howard. I loved her in The Tudors. Tamsin Merchant has also recently been in Carnival Row. She's a main character in that. She was a supporting character in the TV show Salem. So yeah, she's an actress. She's been in quite a number of things that I have seen her in, at least, because I like historical period dramas, and that's kind of primarily what she's been in. So yeah, I was pretty thrilled when I found out that she was writing a children's book. I was like, okay, let me check this out. I do love Tamsin Merchant. So yeah, what is this actually about? In Cordelia's London, magic is real and is woven into objects created by the 5 maker families: the hat makers, the boot makers, the watch makers, the cloak makers, and the glove makers. Growing up in her father Prospero's footsteps, 11-year-old Cordelia Hatmaker has learned the family's ancient skills and secrets so she can one day make her own enchanted hats. When Prospero and his shipper lost at sea during an important ingredient expedition, her grief-stricken aunt and uncle must turn their attention towards fulfilling a decree to create a peace hat for the king. But Cordelia refuses to accept that her father is gone for good, and desperately begins making plans to find him. Then the peace hat is stolen, along with the peace boots, watch, cloak, and gloves, and Cordelia realizes that there is a more menacing plot against the Makers Guild, and that Prospero Hatmaker's disappearance may be connected. Cordelia must uncover the truth about who is behind the thefts if she is to save the Makers and find out what really happened to her father. This just sounds really charming and cute, very British. Let me put it that way, just very British sounding. So yeah, I definitely want to give this a chance, and yeah, Tamsin Merchant is primarily really why I got this. Next up, Beneath the Keep by Erica Johansson, and this is a novel that takes place in her Tierling universe, and I have only read the first book in this series. The first book is called Queen of the Tierling. I have only read that book. I do own the entire trilogy, and I wanted to go ahead and get this book because this is supposed to be like a prequel to the entire trilogy, and I think it's like a standalone. It don't have like other books coming after it. I think it's just a prequel to all of those books. I wanted to go ahead and get this because I do plan on finishing that trilogy at some point because I did really enjoy the first book. So I was like, once I finish that trilogy, then I can just go right into this and whatnot. But yeah, the Queen of the Tierling trilogy is like fantasy. It's like young adult and whatnot, following a young woman who has to like reclaim her kingdom, reclaim her throne, and whatnot. I can't remember all the details, but I do remember really, really loving that first book and really wanting to get to the rest of them. So yeah, like I said, this is like a sequel of some sort to all of that, and yeah, I'm not quite sure who it's focusing on. I've kind of not really read any of the plot synopsis because I don't want to accidentally be spoiled about something that's happened, you know, in the main trilogy, you know. Next up, Everything That Burns by Gita Trelase. This is book 2 in this particular series. It's just a duology. I think it's stopping at 2 books. Taking place in France, right as the French Revolution is about to happen, following young people who can perform magic, and they're magicians, but it's kind of like outlawed sort of at this time in a way. I really liked the first book in this series. Once again, it was historical fiction, young adult. I really loved that sort of thing. I loved the magic system and the world building. Yeah, a young female character trying to save France, essentially, and save magic. So yeah, can't wait to get to this second book and finish up the duology. Next up, we have Blood Countess by Lana Popovic. And this is book 1 in a Lady Slayers series, or the Lady Slayers series. So yeah, my understanding of this whole series is that it's going to be focused on like lady killers, lady serial killers and whatnot. Women who were really manipulative and cunning and maybe did some poison on the side. You know, women who killed. So yeah, this first book is focusing on Elizabeth Bathory, you guys, which is awesome. So yeah, what is this book about? 16-year-old Anna has just begun working as a scullery maid for Countess Elizabeth Bathory, a woman as enigmatic as she is beautiful. When Elizabeth takes a liking to Anna, she is vaulted to chambermaid status and begins to reside in the Countess's private suite, far from the filthy, drafty servants' quarters below. For the ambitious Anna, it's a dream. She receives wages generous enough to provide for her family, and the lonely, calculating Countess, whose cruel husband is often away at war, begins to groom Anna as her friend, confidant, and eventual lover. Oh, interesting. No sooner does Elizabeth beguile Anna entirely than Elizabeth's perfect facade begins to crack, and when others in her employ disappear, Anna begins to fear the person she's begun to love has crossed over into madness, or worse. Then come the murders, and Anna knows it's only a matter of time before Countess Elizabeth turns on her as well. After she tries to thwart the Countess's atrocities, Anna realizes she isn't the Countess's friend or lover, she's her prisoner, and if she stays any longer, she may well become her perfect foil. Ooh, that sounds good. And I know there is another book in this series so far, and that one's taking place like in Versailles in France during the reign of King Louis XIV, kind of that wave of poisoning that was going on during that time period. So I can't wait to get the second book in this series as well, since that's going to take place in France. So yeah, this one focusing on Countess Elizabeth Bathory and whatnot, because she has a pretty crazy story, you guys, if you know it. Oh boy, I don't think you guys can even see this cover. Good lord, there's a pink dress on here, if you can even see it. I seriously don't know if you guys can even see that. I don't know what the light's doing, but yeah, there's a pink dress on here. The Paris Dressmaker by Christy Cambron. Taking place in Paris, 1939. Maison Chanel has closed, thrusting haute couture dressmaker Lila de Laurent out of the world of high fashion as Nazi soldiers invade the streets and the City of Lights slips into darkness. Lila's life is now a series of rations, brutal restrictions, and carefully controlled propaganda, while Paris is cut off from the rest of the world. Yet, in hidden corners of the city, the faithful pledge to resist. Lila is drawn to the resistance and is soon using her skills as a dressmaker to infiltrate the Nazi elite. Ooh. She takes their measurements and designs masterpieces, all while collecting secrets in the glamorous Hotel Ritz, the heart of the Nazis' Parisian headquarters. But when dashing Renee Touliard suddenly re-enters her world, Lila finds her heart tangled between determination to help save his Jewish family and bolstering the fight for liberation. Yes, this sounds good, you guys. Next up, I do love me all things Titanic, so of course I picked this book up, and this is The Titanic Sisters by Patricia Falvey, something like that. Let's see. Delilah Sweeney has always been unlike her older sister, fair and delicate compared to tall, statuesque Nora, whose hair is as dark as something. I'm not sure what the, I don't know what that is. In other ways, too, the sisters are leagues apart. Nora is her mother's darling, favored at every turn and expected to marry into wealth. Delilah, constantly slighted, finds a measure of happiness helping her dad on the farm. The rest of the time, she reads about far-off places that seem sure to remain a fantasy until the day a letter arrives from America. A distant relative has provided the means for Delilah and Nora to go to New York. Delilah will be a lowly maid in a modest household, while Nora will be governess for a well-to-do family. In Queenstown, Cork, they board the Titanic, a majestic new ocean liner making its maiden voyage. Any hope Delilah carried that she and her sister might become closer during the trip soon vanishes, for there are far greater perils to contend with as the ship makes its way across the Atlantic. Oh dear. I have a feeling one of the sisters is going to tragically die. I'm going to call it right now. If they both make it out alive, that's going to be BS. And next up, this book right here, it's a beast of a book. A Declaration of the Rights of Magicians by H.G. Perry. And this sounds all sorts of great, you guys. And right at the very top, it got me because it says this is for fans of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. And I was like, hell yes. So let's see. It is the age of enlightenment, a time of new and magical political movements, from Robespierre calling for revolution in France to the weather mage Toussaint Louverture, that's a name right there, leading the fight for freedom in Saint Dominique, to the bold new Prime Minister William Pitt weighing the legalization of magic among commoners in Britain. But amid all the upheaval, there is an unknown force inciting violent conflict, and it will require the combined efforts of revolutionaries, magicians, and abolitionists to unmask this hidden enemy before the world falls to darkness and chaos. Ooh, that sounds great. So, because it says this is for fans of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and that book took place during like the Napoleonic Wars, focusing on two rival magicians, and it was like kind of this alternative world of Britain and whatnot. And this kind of sounds the same way. It's very, very similar, which I'm very excited about. Next up, this is a book that I have read earlier in the year, and this is by Natalie Haynes, and this is pretty much a retelling of both like the Iliad and the Odyssey, any of the women from those particular stories, and yeah, a retelling of what was going on during the 10-year Trojan War and whatnot, and what was happening to the women, what were their fates, because some of them were imprisoned, some of them were enslaved, some of them were forced to like get married, you know, when they didn't want to. So yeah, I really liked this book, looking at the female perspective of what was going on during the Trojan War and whatnot. Next up, we have The Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce, something like that. This is about, let's see, half hidden by forest and overshadowed by threatening peaks, Les Sommets has always been a sinister place. Long plagued by troubling rumors, the former abandoned sanatorium has since been renovated into a 5-star minimalist hotel. Oh my god, how do you turn a sanatorium / asylum, however you want to look at it, how do you turn that into a hotel? That's creepy. You know this is going to be a creepy ass book. An imposing isolated getaway spot in the Swiss Alps is the last place Ellen Warner wants to be. But Ellen's taken time off from her job as a detective, so when her estranged brother Isaac and his fiancée Laura invite her to celebrate their engagement at the hotel, Ellen really has no reason not to accept. Arriving in the midst of a threatening storm, Ellen immediately feels on edge. There's something about the hotel that makes her nervous. And when they wake up the following morning to discover Laura is missing, Ellen must trust her instincts if they hope to find her. With the storm closing off all access to the hotel, the longer Laura stays missing, the more the remaining guests start to panic. Ellen is under pressure to find Laura, but no one has yet realized that another woman has gone missing, and she's the only one who could have warned them just how much danger they were all in. Yep, it's gonna get crazy. I bet there's murder. Is there murder? It's gonna be great. Another Titanic book, yeah guys. This is Luck of the Titanic by Stacie Lee. Valora Luck has two things: a ticket for the biggest and most luxurious ocean liner in the world, and a dream of leaving England behind and making a life for herself as a circus performer in New York. Much to her surprise, though she's turned away at the gangway, apparently Chinese people aren't allowed into America. But Val has to get on that ship. Her twin brother Jamie, who has spent 2 long years at sea, is on board, as is an influential circus owner. Thankfully, there's not much a trained acrobat like Val can't overcome when she's put her mind to it. As a stowaway, Val should keep her head down and stay out of sight, but the clock is ticking and she has just 7 days as the ship makes its way across the Atlantic to find Jamie, audition for the service owner, and convince him to help them both get into America. Then one night, the unthinkable happens, and suddenly Val's dreams of a new life are crushed under the weight of the only thing that matters: survival. Yes, this is definitely just a very highly unique take on Titanic fiction and the genre, you guys. Brilliant. Next up, we have Dragonfly by Lila Meacham. This is a huge book as well, you guys. Let's see, this is about, in 1942, 5 idealistic young American men and women from very different backgrounds receive a mysterious letter from the OSS, asking them to fight for their country. There's the Texan athlete, an upper-crust son of a French mother, a dirt-poor Midwestern fly fisherman, an orphaned fashion designer, and a ravishing, beautiful female fencer. Each choose to answer the call of duty, for secret reasons of their own. They bond immediately, and their group code name, Dragonfly. Taking on false identities, they're dropped behind enemy lines in German-occupied Paris and embedded among the highest Nazi ranks. Soon begins the cat-and-mouse game of staying under the radar, where one false move could be fatal. Ooh. Next up, The Burning Girls by C.J. Tudor, and I just love this cover, you guys. I am all about historical fiction that has just really unique, different covers. And this is definitely a really unique looking cover. So yeah, this is about, let's see, a dark history lingers in Chapelcroft. 500 years ago, Protestant martyrs were betrayed, then burned. 30 years ago, 2 teenage girls disappeared without a trace, and a few weeks ago, the vicar of the local parish hanged himself in the nave of the church. Reverend Jack Brooks, a single parent with a 14-year-old daughter and a heavy conscience, arrives in the village hoping for a fresh start. Instead, Jack finds a town rife with conspiracies and secrets and is greeted with a strange welcome package, an exorcism kit, and a note that warns that there is nothing covered up that will not be revealed and hidden that will not be known. The more Jack and daughter Flo explore the town and get to know its strange denizens, the deeper they are drawn into the age-old rifts, mysteries, and suspicions. And when Flo begins to see specters of girls ablaze, it becomes apparent there are ghosts here that refuse to be laid to rest. Uncovering the truth can be deadly in a village with a bloody past, where everyone has something to hide and no one trusts an outsider. Ooh, sounds great! Next up, The Last Tiara by M.J. Rose. And this book is heavy. It's not that it's necessarily a big gigantic book, but it sure does feel heavy. It's like it's heavy paper or something. Good God, compared to all these other books that I've been holding, this one's like definitely really heavy. Let's see. Told in alternating points of view, the stories of the 2 young women unfurl as each struggles to find their way during 2 separate wars. In 1915, young Sophia, a favorite of the royal household and best friend of Grand Duchess Olga Nikolaevna, attends to wounded soldiers in a makeshift hospital within the grounds of the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg, and finds the love of her life. In 1948, New York, Isabel Moon works to break through the rampant sexism of the age as one of the very few women working in a male-dominated profession, and discovers far more about love and family than she ever hoped for. In this book, the secrets of Sophia's early life are revealed incrementally, even as Isabel finds herself works to solve the mystery of the historic Romanov tiara, which is based on an actual Romanov artifact that is, to this day, still missing, it says here. And how is it that her mother came to possess it? The 2 strands play off of each other in finely tuned counterpoint, building to a series of surprising and deeply satisfying revelations. You know, I feel like this plot summary is just really weird. I feel like on Goodreads it made a lot more sense. But yeah, it has something to do with a missing tiara belonging to the Romanovs and whatnot. Historical fiction. Sounds great. Next up here, we have The Girl from the Channel Islands by Jenny LeCote. Hopefully that's pronounced correctly. I don't know. It sounds cool. LeCote. Summer 1940. Hetty Becrew fled Vienna 2 years ago. Now she watches the skies over Jersey for German planes, convinced that an invasion is imminent. When it finally comes, there is no counterattack from Allied forces. The Channel Islands are simply not worth defending. Most islanders are occupying forces settled into an uneasy coexistence, but for Hetty, this situation is perilously different, for Hetty is Jewish, a fact that could mean deportation or worse. With no means of escape, Hetty hides in plain sight, working as a translator for the Germans while silently working against them. She forges a tentative friendship with a sympathetic German officer who wants to do the right thing, but as the war intensifies, Hetty knows she is in greater danger each day. Soon her survival will depend not just on her own courage, but on the community she has come to cherish, and a man who should be her enemy. Ooh, that sounds great, you guys. And next up, West with Giraffes by Linda Rutledge. And the title had giraffes in it, so I was like, I gotta get this. And there's a cute, look, there's a giraffe. There's a giraffe on the back, you guys. I'm ridiculously excited about some giraffes, let me tell you. Okay, Woodrow Wilson, let me start that over. Woodrow Wilson Nickel, age 105, feels his life ebbing away, but when he learns giraffes are going extinct, oh no, he finds himself recalling the unforgettable experience he cannot take to his grave. It's 1938, the Great Depression lingers. Hitler is threatening Europe, and world-weary Americans long for wonder. They find it in 2 giraffes who miraculously survive a hurricane while crossing the Atlantic. What follows is a 12-day road trip in a custom truck to deliver Southern California's first giraffes to the San Diego Zoo. Behind the wheel is the young Dust Bowl Rowdy Woodrow. Inspired by true events, the tale weaves real-life figures with fictional ones, including the world's first female zoo director, a crusty old man with a past, a young female photographer with a secret, and assorted reprobates as spotty as the giraffes. Oh, that sounds great. That sounds so cute. You guys, I love reading World War II historical fiction that has something to kind of do with animals, you know, trying to save the animals as well. This sounds great. I love drafts. And next up, we have The Paris Library by Jeanette Skelsian Charles. What a name. Oh, it's pretty inside. There's like postcards and stuff in here. See? Let me show you guys. I don't know how much you can see, but there's like postcards in there. Okay, what is this book about? Paris, 1939. I sure do have a lot of World War II historical fiction here with Paris, you guys. What's wrong with me? Young and ambitious Odile Suchet? Is that how it's... I don't even know if that's how it's pronounced. Odile? Either way, she has it all. Her handsome police officer, beau, and a dream job at the American Library in Paris. But when the Nazis march in to occupy the city, Odile stands to lose everything she holds dear, including her beloved library. Together with her fellow librarians, Odile joins a resistance with the best weapons she has, books. When the war finally ends, instead of savoring freedom, Odile tastes the bitter sting of unspeakable betrayal. And then we flash forward to Montana, 1983. Lily is a lonely teenager looking for adventure in small-town Montana, and the air of mystery about her solitary elderly neighbor from Paris piques her interest. As Lily uncovers hints about her past, she finds that they share a love of language, the same longings, and the same intense jealousy, never suspecting that a dark secret connects them. A powerful novel that explores the consequences of our choices and the relationships that make us who we are, family, friends, and favorite authors. The Paris Library illuminates the little-known corner of history where a passion for literature inspired extraordinary acts of courage and love. Ooh, has something to do with a library during World War II, you guys. I'm all for it. And the last book that I have here is The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornacek, and this is pretty much Norse mythology retelling. Let's see. Angrboda's story begins where most witches' tales end, with a burning. A punishment from Odin for refusing to provide him with knowledge of the future, the fire leaves Angrboda injured and powerless, and she flees to the farthest reaches of a remote forest. There she is found by a man who reveals himself to be Loki, and her initial distrust of him transforms into a deep and abiding love. Their union produces 3 unusual children, each with a secret destiny, who Angrboda is keen to raise at the edge of the world, safely hidden from Odin's all-seeing eye. But as Angrboda slowly recovers her prophetic powers, she learns that her blissful life and possibly all of existence is in danger. I do love me all things Norse mythology. Sounds like a great retelling, you guys. Yeah, a woman who was in love with the trickster god Loki and whatnot. And I love this cover, you guys. I don't know how much you can see this cover, but yeah, Angrboda and Loki in mythology, they do have 3 children, and I love that descriptiveness here on this cover because you have the world serpent right here, Jormungandr, and then I think right over here is Fenrir the wolf, and then down here, if I'm pointing correctly, is Hel, who's like queen of the underworld in Norse mythology and whatnot. So yeah, I love that detail. And within her hair here in the design is all 3 children somehow in there. That's really cool. So you guys, that is it for this book haul. In the comments below, have you guys read any of these books? And if you did you like them? Did you hate them? Yeah, which of these books should I get to sooner rather than later? Because I have a lot, you guys, and I only have so much time. But I'm determined to eventually wind my way through all these books, even if it takes me decades to get to them all. Who knows? Oh Lord, I'm getting old. Anyway, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.